exactly are we in a broadcast studio? Like when I sign it says
can't start a show with like in mid sentence. It doesn't
do whatever
work.
I want because you're making me go to this new thing now.
I'm not making you do anything. I'm improving our show. I'm improving the quality of our show.
So does this mean we're not using Skype?
Yeah.
I set up an account
On Skype.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Just for this.
So it looks like it takes about 30 seconds for us to actually start broadcasting. So I think like we were in mid conversation when this started.
Well, that's
Anyways.
private stuff for our Patreon people.
Patreon.
Yeah.
No, well, see, the advantage of this is that I could do like different, Windows stuff.
That was making me sick last week. I didn't realize you were the one doing that. The screen would just keep bouncing back and forth.
I was switching. I was switching like an expert.
You were switching for third-party people that were not present. Like I found it distracting when I would start talking and then suddenly the camera would focus on me. I don't want to see myself. I want to see who it is I'm talking to.
Oh yeah, I was doing that to mess with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wanted to practice before I put it into. I waited until we were done recording, and then I started messing around with it while you and Matt Bandy were having your discussion about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, you should not have cut that off. That was the best part of the show.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I stopped recording, and I said, "Okay, guys, we're done recording," and then you guys went into a whole big Dungeons and Dragons thing. So I don't know what to tell you.
It wasn't Dungeons and Dragons.
Matt Bandy, I talked to Matt Bandy because he's my friend, and I talk to him regularly.
My friend Matt Bandy.
Yeah, well, your friend, you don't talk to him. I talk to him, and he told me. I said
quality over quantity.
I said you guys were talking about Dungeons and Dragons, right? And he said yes. So
he was being nice. We might have mentioned Dungeons and Dragons, but mostly we're talking about other games.
He said Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, anyways, this
versions of those. I can tell you exactly what it is because I take notes when my friend Matt Bandy speaks. And look, right here, I wrote a little memo. It's basicfantasy.org.
That's not Dungeons and Dragons?
That's on a sticky note on my binder.
That's a do-a-tang, sir. By the way, I should have been on the ball, and I should have. Okay, hold on. Wait, I'll put you. There you go, up on the screen.
Okay, there you go. Clear
there.
file. King Jim. There you go. Shall I show everything? Should we make this like an old school YouTube video where I show all my pickups?
What do you mean old school? People still do that. Oh, how come you don't? I still don't know how this works.
Show every angle.
I don't know why solo layout. Okay, there you go. Okay. Oh, there I go. There you go. Hey, this is great. This is great podcasting. Right on. Okay, let's start the show. Episode 148. It's not 147. Come on, Outline. Quick Save Club is playing. Wait, are we still in May? It's like the last day in May. Okay, forget it. We're not going to plug what the other one's playing because I don't know off the top of my head what everyone's playing in June.
Right. We're supposed to update that for
June. I don't know.
What are you playing in June in the Quick Save Club?
Oh, we're playing Antichamber. Yeah, I do know that one. Antichamber. Let me see if I can remember. CC Prime. I don't think Curtis announced CC Portable. He might not be doing anything.
Well, we can just assume what they're playing, and maybe we'll be right. And maybe we'll give them a better idea. We can tell people what they should be playing.
Wait, let me see. I think we updated in the Quick Save Club one. I can find. Oh yeah, okay. CC Prime is playing Gears of War.
The first one?
Yeah, they're just playing plain old Gears of War. And RF Gen is playing Cannon Spike.
Oh, the Dreamcast game.
The most.
I've never played that.
Rare Dreamcast game. So
Is it
Good luck with
really?
that one. Good luck with getting people to join in on that one. I think so. I think it's an expensive game. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of another game.
I saw a copy many years ago, the Japanese version, of course, and it was expensive. Otherwise, I probably would have picked it up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ridiculously expensive. It was within probably like, I don't know, more than you want to pay. That's what it was.
Well, there you go. We did it. We got the plugs in.
What exactly kind of game is that? I remember it being like, is
I
it
don't know.
top down shooter battle kind of thing?
I have no idea.
Almost like that game, game. Um, it's an arcade game.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Game,
mm-hmm,
game.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is a game.
It's a game.
Um,
Yeah.
it's got a name too. I just can't think
It
of it.
looks like an action RPG, like Diablo-ish, over the top, twin stick shooter.
Yeah.
That
That game.
Although, how do you play a twin stick shooter with the Dreamcast? It only has one stick.
I don't know how you play anything with the Dreamcast controller. That thing
I
is
got to
wonky.
agree. I've never been a fan of that controller. I felt like those handles kind of like when you're holding onto it, it feels like they point out, like they point away from the controller.
Yeah, and I know it's an odd thing to complain about, but that cable coming towards you, and they knew it was odd because
Mm-hmm.
they wrapped it around. And I know it's for the VMU,
Right.
they had to get in there and all that. But odd controller. I like the 3D controller on the Saturn much better, which is essentially the same thing, but you didn't have the need for twin sticks because you only had the one on the
And
Dreamcast.
they did adopt a lot of that controller onto the Xbox. Like the Xbox used a lot, like putting the expansions at the top,
Right.
the button layout, pretty much the analog triggers. That is one thing that the Dreamcast. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was the first system with the analog triggers. And when you played a racing game with those analog triggers for the first time, that was good times.
Yeah, it was that transition. It was getting some things right, but it hadn't quite nailed it yet.
Fandango coming up, are actually this month now. June. It's the month of June. We're doing 70s Jack Nicholson, Last Detail, Five Easy Pieces, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Can't wait to watch those.
Well, I'll get them in the folder for you as soon as possible. They're good movies, good times. Then in July, we're doing Josh and Curtis's Treehouse. Josh and Curtis, if you haven't been keeping up with the dramatic events, Josh and Curtis have picked a movie, picked an independent film for us to watch. Attack of the Block and It Follows. We don't know who chose what.
Well, I was wondering about that. I wrote this stuff down and I was like, didn't we pick which one it was?
What do you mean?
Like, yeah, they did pick.
Right, yeah. Yeah, we did it last week.
Right. I can't.
Fandango.
There's something familiar about that.
Your head was at.
I still had
already
the list of all the ones they had chosen.
I know. You were thinking of Dungeons and Dragons by the time we got that part. You were not
really
focused on Fandango. But yeah, if you didn't listen to our Conan episode, which you really should have, because we had Matt Bandy on and we had a really good time. We actually got some responses. Bill said that we should also check out Beastmaster, the original Beastmaster. You ever watch that?
I have. When I was a kid, I remember going to Blockbuster Video. Wow, what a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those really cool Blockbusters. It had like 2 floors, so you go down to the basement. And I rented Beastmaster. Could have been part 1 or 2 or 3, I don't know. Possibly 4 or 5 if they went that high.
There was a few of them.
I remember renting 1 or 2 of them a few times and I couldn't tell you a thing about it, but I know I watched it.
You watched it a few times and you can't remember
I
anything
can't
about
tell
it?
you anything. There was a TV show too. They made it into one of those Sunday afternoon Hercules-ish TV shows after a while.
You know, yeah, I guess I can kind of relate to that because there was a movie we had on tape called Batteries Not Included. It was
Oh,
like
I've
these
seen
little
that. Yeah,
robots. Yeah, that could.
that's a Steven Spielberg film,
Is it? I remember.
produced at least.
I remember having it on tape when we were kids and watching it over and over again. But right now, I can't remember a damn thing about it. I just remember a robot filling in the tiles on like a floor. There was some
It
guy that was putting like
was
a mosaic into a floor, and he was
Yeah, it was an apartment building, bunch of crazy characters all living in this building. They all got their
Jessica Tandy in that
problems.
movie.
I
Was she the old
don't
lady?
know,
Yeah.
but little UFO alien things, and yeah, they just help you with your problems. I remember one guy was a painter.
Okay, I don't
That's all
remember
I
that.
remember.
I just remember the guy doing the tiles and the old lady.
Hmm.
Anyways, over in Discord, Duke left us a lengthy post about his experiences with the Conan series. He agrees with us. When he was a kid, he always found the first one very boring. It was more adult, and the second one, Conan the Destroyer, is the one that he watched quite a bit over and over again. And he doesn't
I
remember
wouldn't
too much
say
about
it's
Red
more
Sonja.
adults that first one. It's just more boring.
Yeah, yeah. He was just like relating as a kid, you know.
Right. As a kid, you think, "Wow, I'm just not. I guess I'm
Not.
not smart enough to understand the complexities of this film."
He says he does vividly remember the snake scene and the decapitating. Decapitations were always pretty shocking to see, at least for me in movies. Yeah,
Head
that
going up.
was that was always a big thing too. Yeah, decapitations. Like they're not going to cut off his head. He said he laughed out loud when Matt was talking about Grace Jones because I had the same problem with viewing as a child. I'm pretty sure my brother and I argued whether she was a guy or a girl. Am I the only one that saw View to a Kill, the James Bond movie? I mean, she was a
Probably.
Bond. She was a Bond woman. I don't know. I guess. Oh, and he says, and man, young Duke had the hots for the princess, but I had no idea she was that young. But I was young too, so it was okay.
Was that young part added in later as an edit? It's like, oh shoot, what did I write?
I'm just shocked that Duke had the hots for anyone. Jeez, that's pretty surprising. Duke having
Especially since he and Mother Brain have been together since they were like 3 years old. You know,
they were fetuses, right? And they got together or something. Having the hots. All right. Anyways, back to the Treehouse Fandango. So, Josh and Curtis picked their movies. It's going to be Attack the Block and It Follows, and we decided that the remaining movies we will allow our folks on Discord to choose.
Right? Okay, that
the
sounds familiar.
next movie.
Maybe I would remember this if it went out as a Twitter poll or something.
No,
You know.
there's too many movies here for a Twitter poll. Twitter limits you to four choices.
Yeah, and you do like a bracket, and you do another bracket.
No. So go over to our Discord and choose which movie you'd like. So the list is Defender, Dope, Eighth Grade, The Lobster, and Midsummer, and Wet Hot American Summer. Those are your choices. And I guess I'll set up something on Discord so people can do that. As soon as we're done recording, I'll make sure to put that in Discord. Making a note. Discord. Okay, that's it. That's all
That's
the
the show.
Goodbye,
very much.
everybody. Thanks for listening.
Well, you've heard pretty much half the show because I did not put in much.
I got pretty much nothing either.
You
Just the
got
movies I
nothing.
watched. Nothing.
Yeah. What's going on? Well,
No,
I
I
was
got-
actually fairly busy this week.
Doing what?
Doing work.
Work.
Back to work. Got to like plan lessons and stuff.
Ooh.
Been eating up all my time.
Terrible.
Really not happy with that. And you know what? I live for the weekend now, so it's like, oh, Friday comes. I'm like, yeah, can't believe it's going to be the weekend. I made sure I finished all my preparations for like the beginning of next week or
Mm-hmm.
Friday, so I'd have the weekend totally free. That's a myth, man. As soon as Saturday came, we got to go shopping. We got to get this. The kids need this for school. My kids are going
Mm-hmm.
back to school now too. They reopened.
Mm.
So we were like, oh, we're still not going to bring the kids to the store. We got to go. And it's like, go to this store, go to that store. And there you go. That was my day. Just driving places and waiting and buying things, necessities.
Too many stores.
I wanted to spend the day just, crafting goods for Dungeons and Dragons.
You couldn't convince the wife that you'd be better, like she should go on her own with the kids and take care of that, and you'd be better to stay at home and do the Dungeons and Dragons thing. So when they come back to the house, they'll be, you could put all the school stuff away, and I'll take the kids and we'll do Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Well, that was the plan. I really wanted to sit down and play a game yesterday because I finished painting a troll. I'm ready to play him.
Mm.
You want to see? You want to see the little hill I made? Look at this. I made like a little hill you can like
Let me get you
climb
a
up
soul.
on.
There we go.
That. Whoa! Look at that. So you got little stairs over here. You go over the top and some rocks here. People hide behind. You set up your archer.
What is that?
There,
is that styrofoam? What is that made out of?
It's insulation foam
Okay.
for your house. It's good for crafting tabletop stuff.
And you carve it into that, like with a knife? You just carve it and paint it?
Get yourself a little X-Acto knife and just start chopping it up.
All right. Is a stair like a square that you move your character forward? Like you roll a 3 and then you can move up 3 stairs?
In the game I play, they have measuring sticks. Not you don't measure individual like inches or centimeters. You have a short stick, a medium stick, and a long stick. So depending on what your character uses, you just put the stick down in front of it, and then you move it forward to the end of the stick. Okay. You can go a shorter distance if you like, but you have to move in a straight line, and then you can angle it differently for your next move.
I think we need
some characters have the acrobats trait, and they can actually move in a curve, which allows them to be a little more flexible.
That sounds like chess, where your knight can move in an L.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Talk about your movies.
Are we gonna do movie talk? Jump right into
what else is there?
Well, I don't know. We can talk about riots if you want. Have you having any riots in Japan, or is it just over here?
Are you having riots? I thought it was mostly in it's in Wisconsin, isn't it?
No, Minnesota is where it started, but Minnesota? It's all over the states right now. Toronto just had something today. I don't know what. I haven't actually looked to see. Like there hasn't been any. I don't know if it's violent or whatever. I don't know what's happening in Toronto. It's probably peaceful, I imagine. But yeah, no, it's crazy. This last week, like there's chunks of Minneapolis that look like they've been bombed out. They set fire to a police precinct where that guy.
Yeah,
you heard about the cop?
I heard about the guy's that. Yeah.
Neck. This Floyd guy that they murdered. Basically, they killed. Allegedly, I guess I have to say, in case they want to sue me or something. But yeah, it's pretty wild over there. And I've always been like, anytime riots or anything like that start, I've always been, come on, like you could do better. This is stupid. You don't need to destroy things. You can get your message across, like with peaceful means and all that. You don't need to tear down buildings. You don't need to, like, what does it make sense to destroy some guy's liquor store? He didn't do anything, right? It's just some stupid cop. But this is the very first time where I just feel like I get it. I don't agree with it. I don't think they should do it. I don't think it's right, but I understand. It's like, how many times?
Understand.
Yeah, like how many times does this have to happen to some guy? It's usually always a black guy. How many times does this have to happen? And then the people get off. That's the thing. Like, there's no repercussions. There's
well, yeah. When I mean, riots under normal circumstances, if somebody doing some of the actions involved with rioting were doing it on their own, it's very easy for law enforcement to focus on one person. When you have hundreds of people, in this case, thousands probably, doing the stuff at the same time, of course they can't overpower you. Uh, so you get away with doing stuff like that. Now, I think in situations like this, there are probably a small percentage of people who are actively conscious of why they're doing it. They probably lost a bit of control in their anger,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a domino effect, and then you just start getting people who don't even know what's going on. It's the end of Police Academy, where, oh, riots starting, let's join in, sure, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
And then it just gets out of hand because you've got people just smashing things for the sake of doing that, and that's why innocent people and innocent people's property start becoming affected. It's no longer just a statement; it's just a riot.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think today has been a lot more peaceful. Like we're recording on Saturday today, and as far as I could tell, it's been like there hasn't been too much. It's still daylight out though. Who knows what will happen tonight? But it's funny. They've been posting videos of that. Like the crowds are kind of finding where the Fox News anchors are reporting on location from, and
Mm-hmm.
like for instance today, Trump there was like some shuttle that they or it was a rocket that they launched off of American soil. It's the first time they put astronauts in space in 10 years on American soil. So Trump went out there to watch the rocket lift off, and the anchor, it was like they had a shot of Trump and behind, and they had audio and everything from it. And the anchor was like, "Oh, we have some video of whatever. Can we roll that clip?" And she's sitting there waiting for them to roll the clip, and all the only audio that's getting through is these protesters yelling at Trump. And she's sitting there and she's waiting, and it went on for about 10-15 seconds, where she's just waiting for, and like, oh, we don't have that clip. Oh, okay. Oh man, it was pretty good. It's pretty funny. Anyways, movies. Oh yeah, and guys, like people are getting really like cocky with this COVID. Like they're getting a little too comfortable, thinking that they could go out and go to thrift stores and start looking at broken toys at the thrift stores, and going over to Toys R Us and looking at the Transformers on Toys R Us, looking at people's junk at the end of other people's driveways. It's like, guys, this thing's still happening, man. It's not going away anytime soon. Gotta relax.
Yeah.
Your broken
If
toys will
it's
still be at the thrift store, and when this is over, you can relax. You don't need them.
Yeah, I think it was a week or so ago in Japan where the state of emergency was lifted, and they've begun opening the schools and stuff again. They are doing it in sections where, half the students come at a time, and then they're there for short days, and they got all the, you got to wear a mask and you got to wash and
Right.
all this and everything going on. It still feels like it's a little early, but as soon as that ban was lifted, the very next day, you go to the store and suddenly masks, which were impossible to get, suddenly start appearing again.
Mm,
It's like, oh, now look, we got them, and they're not all sold out, and the price is jumped up like 3 or 4 times what they normally cost, and we're only getting like really small packages.
mm,
And then also, but you also see a lot of people suddenly, well, I guess I don't need the mask anymore, and
yeah.
they're just out there. The state of emergency was lifted. Everything's fine now, right? There's people who are just not understanding. It's not a light switch.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a little time.
Yeah. Anyways, priorities. You need to get
Mm.
groceries. You need to get to work. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need broken
Mm.
toys. I mean, you might need to go to Canadian Tire to get some water softener salt or some other necessity. Your car battery has died and you need a new car battery. Those kind of
But
things.
But how you gonna shoot YouTube videos if you don't go looking for toys?
You'll be able to do it when this pandemic is over. You don't need to
You
do it.
gotta get those hits.
And that's the other thing too. Like, okay, fine, you're gonna go do it. Hey, everybody on YouTube, look what I'm doing. What? Weren't you just yelling at your friend last week for going out and going? Now it's like, anyways. I gave him some crap before our show.
And during.
A little bit during, yeah, a little bit.
What's that on your T-shirt?
Oh, this is the classic Buried on Mars shirt.
Oh, look at that!
I wore this. I think I wore this. How to put consoles. Wait, how to play your consoles on a modern TV. This is the shirt I wore for that. So that's some.
Then modern TV. How do you play your consoles on a 4K TV? Where's that video?
Yeah, I'm not going to bother. I had enough with that stupid 1080p video. I still get people asking me questions and arguing with me in that. And I'm like, I don't care about this anymore. I want to take that video down so bad, but it helps the channel. It's too good for the channel. So
just tell them it's like, oh, all the answers are available to my Patreons.
No, I steer them in other directions. I'm like, go over here and look at this. And then they come back with 20 other questions. Oh, man. Sometimes. All right.
I watched one movie.
What movie did you watch?
I watched Wheels on Meals. Did you watch your Blu-ray yet?
I got the Blu-ray, but I don't have the player yet. The player is in limbo.
You do not have a Blu-ray player?
I don't have a Region B Blu-ray player. The Region Bs. So I got some Region B discs, but I don't have the player for it yet. They said if it doesn't arrive sometime tomorrow, then to contact them. Okay, but so I'm just waiting. I'm still waiting.
Are your deliveries still sluggish due to COVID?
No, not this. Like up until the last couple of weeks, mostly this week. This week it's picked up. It's like everything has been arriving all at once. It's actually kind of overwhelming. Like I'll get a notification that one thing's coming, and I'm like, okay, and then 3 things end up at the house. I'm like even stuff that's been on back order for months and months and months. Like that, I got a rain check on a price, and I said, okay, I want that item for that price, and they're like, well, we're sold out of it, but when we get it in stock, we'll send it to you. I'm like, okay, and like at least 3 or 4 of those things have arrived this past week. It's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy. So yeah, how many other Blu-rays of Region B do you have?
Just 2 others. They're all Jackie Chan movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the other Jackie Chan movies you have in Region B?
City Hunter.
Okay.
And Project. It's actually the other one's a combo of 2 movies: Project A and Project A2.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I hope they're good.
City Hunter's good. That I could watch on Amazon. They actually have a really good copy of it on Amazon Prime. So I have watched that. And Project A 1 and 2, I've watched trailers and clips on YouTube, like whatever sort of clip I could find. And I've been doing that. I've been good. Like I've been following your advice. Like I watched. So there's a company in the States right now that is going out of business. They're a Blu-ray company. They got like some deals with some movie studios and that, but they're going under. So they're liquidating all their stock. So they had just a few movies that I seemed interesting to me, but I went out of my way to try to find them on the dark web and watch them before I bought them. So there were some that were good and some that were not so good. So that process has been working out fairly well. And then there was one that I couldn't find it for the life of me, but I watched the trailer, and the trailer was enough for me. It's a 1970s Western with Burt Lancaster. He was kicking all sorts of ass. I'm like, yeah, this is a slam dunk. There's no way this movie's going to suck. So. Yeah.
Okay, well, I won't talk about Wheels on Meals then, if you haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't. And there was a channel that was playing it. People in my area will know it. CHCH. They did air that. I had set my PVR to record it, but for whatever reason, the recording didn't work.
Hmm.
So that movie's still eluding me. So as soon as my player
Well,
comes in, though, that's going to be the first one I watch.
well, I'll give you my review without getting into spoilers.
Okay.
The action is AAA,
Nice.
4 stars. It's solid action, super impressive.
Okay.
The story and the non-action scenes, they dragged quite a bit.
Oh no. Well,
That
generally,
movie,
the stories are not. The story is not the
the
strongest part.
story is not the main point, but it does take up a lot of time.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's an issue with the translation, the subtitles, whatever it was, because I just watched the English subtitles with the original voice track. Although I'm really curious, I haven't seen as many of these as you have. Do they film these movies without recording audio and then
Yeah.
just dub everything later?
Yeah.
Because like none of their voices, even in the original Chinese, seem to
Yeah.
match up, and Jackie Chan doesn't even sound like Jackie Chan.
Yeah. No, they do. Even the that's how they did the old westerns, spaghetti westerns too, right?
Hmm.
Because some of the actors were Italian, some of the actors were Spanish, some of the actors were English. So everybody talked in their native tongue. They delivered their lines of dialogue in their native tongue, and everything was. I think they call it ADR.
Yeah.
They ADR it later. So, but yeah, that's how they did those movies. Mostly because um, not a lot of it was studio work, right? It's on location, and it's really hard
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
mic on location, especially when you're a budget Hong Kong film company, right?
True
That's why
enough.
a lot of your
Yeah.
old movies from the 30s and 40s are just everything's done on set for the most part. There isn't a lot of filming locations until the technology got better. Really in the 60s, that's when they really started to start doing a lot of location shooting and recording, capturing audio on location. But even modern movies today, a lot of it is done is ADR, that's just because it's
Yeah.
easier.
Well, I think contemporary films they attempt to match it up a little bit better.
Hmm.
Like that in this movie, it was just like you're talking, but your mouth's not moving.
Yeah. And a lot of it was like like they it depends on how thick the accent was or whatever. Like they all those movies were designed to like they wanted a mass market, right? They wanted to mass market them, so they didn't want like someone with a really strong accent to do. So they would just get someone else to do the voice. So I don't know if they didn't feel like really a lot of those older movies. I don't think it's Jackie Chan's voice for a lot of them until the 80s when he started to take control, when he started
Mhm.
directing himself, and that like the police story movies are him or his voice, but a lot of them it's just not. It's some other dude. Even in the 90s, there's a bunch of movies. Um, it's some other dude voicing him, and it's so weird because it's like I wanted to listen to the original language, but it doesn't seem to matter. It's bad
Yeah. Mhm.
voiceover dub, no matter what the language is. So
Yeah. I don't know that movie. The action is a lot of fun when you get to those scenes. Bodies start flying, cars start flying. It's good stuff.
hmm.
But oof,
All right, well,
I my advice is when you hit if you are watching the movie and you feel like you're getting a little bored, realize that's how it's going to feel every time there's a non-action scene.
how
And
long is the
feel
movie? Is it
like an
90
hour and a
minutes?
half, but
Okay,
like it
really? And
took me
it's
forever to watch because it
oh
just
wow. Yeah, there's some 90-minute movies I feel like 3 hours, and there's 3 hour movies I feel like 90 minutes.
yeah.
I
I
just watch.
am the one bit of entertainment that I got from it is I kept hearing the name Thomas and Sylvia. I was like, yeah, this is kung fu. This is where they got that game from. But
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know how it's a very loose adaptation. or they just slapped that name onto a pre-existing title.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right.
Okay.
So what did you watch then?
Well, let's see. I watched Zodiac again. That movie about the Zodiac killer.
Never saw it.
So it came out in 2007, and the fun thing about that movie, it's 3 hours long, by the way. It's 2 hours, but it flies by. Well, characters are interesting, and what they're doing is interesting, and that. But your top three actors in this movie are Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, and Robert Downey Jr. So it's like watching the Hulk, Iron Man, and Mysterio all getting together, and because they're all in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, that was in
That's
a
right.
Spider-Man movie.
Right. Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. So, anyways, it's a good movie. Good movies. Even the second time around, that movie just moves very nicely. I watched a movie called The 33, and that is a movie about the 33 miners who were trapped in Chile. Remember them getting stuck down there, and it went on for months and months and months and months. It's not bad. It's pretty good. The acting is a little over the top at times. And it would have been a better movie if they actually would have made it in Spanish. It's in English, and they're writing stuff on the walls and that, and it's all in English, and it doesn't really make too much sense why these guys in Chile would be writing stuff in English. Some of the actors are, I guess this is just before the whole brownface, blackface thing really started to pick up momentum, whitewashing in Hollywood and all that.
What year was this?
2015. So
I
don't, maybe that's like this movie didn't get very good reviews either. So maybe that's part of it. Like, because Gabriel Byrne is in it, and he's playing a Spanish guy, a Hispanic guy, and the guy who's the president of Chile is a white guy too. He's one of those actors you've seen in so many things, but nobody knows who the heck he is. So I don't know, but it was okay. It was interesting at times, but really should have been in Spanish. It would have been so much more effective in Spanish, I think. Yeah. Wife and I watched Desk Set.
You watched a Desk Set?
We watched a Desk Set. So this is the very first Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn movie that we watched together, and we became fans of Spencer and Tracy. They did about 11 or 12, about a dozen movies together, and for me, this is their best one. It came out in 1957, and it's about Spencer Tracy's like this guy who he runs a company that builds get this, electronic brains to go into to bring into companies and set up into companies so to make their workers more efficient, right? Like it can do calculations.
Good idea.
Yeah, an electronic brain. What we would call a computer, but I don't think anyone says the word computer. They say compute, but I don't think anyone says computer throughout the whole movie. But yeah, it's a good movie. They're putting it into this research or resources. So it's a resources room. So let me just shift my chair in here. When I started working in television, we actually had a resource department that when like if a reporter needed some facts on something, right? Like say they were doing something on the CN Tower and they needed some facts on the CN Tower, they would contact the resources department, and the resources department would supply them with all the facts that they needed on the CN Tower. Now, today, they just go on the internet. They just find it on the internet. Go to the CN Tower website, and you can do all that yourself. You can get all the facts you need. Sorry, yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. I'll tell later.
So this movie is about that. It's about a computer coming into this resources department. It takes place at a television station as well. At a big network television station, people are calling in asking for questions and that. But the whole lesson with this thing is that this computer is only as good as the information that's put into it, and it also doesn't have the ability to cross-reference anything, right? Like it doesn't understand. Like I can't think of a good example right now. Like if you were like maybe I don't know asking asking it like about a record, and you're thinking LPs, but the computer would take what you mean literally and think record as in like breaking a record or something like that. Like it can't. It has difficulty like a computer can't cross reference, whereas human beings can.
It can't
Anyways,
think. Can't think. It's like the supercomputer in Superman 3 when it didn't
yeah,
know that acid was gonna be dangerous when it gets
or
super hot.
or the Daystrom computer in Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's the whole point of it. But anyways, the whole thing's, the internet's
You
kind of taking
just
care of
you
all that.
just twice reminded me of something else that I watched with your talk of electronic brains and the Daystrom Institute.
Excellent, excellent. Anyways, it's a cute movie. It's a good movie. Those two are so good together. Watch them. Okay, I got some movies here that you'd be more interested in. I rewatched X-Men and
First
X-Men
one.
2. Yes, the
You
first and
mean
second.
X2,
So
X-Men United.
yeah, I guess so. Although mine just says X2. That's all it
It,
says.
they all say X2, but then it was also given that little subtitle. I think they mostly said it instead of writing it.
I see. Well, anyways, it's been a long time since I watched them, and yeah, it was first and second one, and I felt the first one was kind of just okay, kind of it's all right,
Mhm.
but I really enjoyed it this time around. I was
Yeah,
really
that's exactly how I felt when I rewatched it recently.
I'm like, this is way better than I remembered.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had like, I don't know
I
what was
think
wrong
one
with
of
it.
the reasons that people kind of forget about it is because, again, I'm not picking on you Marvel people, but they tend to really bash the X-Men franchise for whatever reason. I understand maybe the more recent ones haven't been as successful as like the Marvel movies and stuff, but those first two X-Men movies were really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed myself. I think maybe it's the Bryan Singer thing too, and he's had like a couple of little bit of Me Too action on the side there that
Yeah,
he had some
you
trouble
got to
with
be able
that.
to separate the product from the pervert, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
We got
everyone's forgiven Pee-wee, right? He had his whole thing and, he was a children's show host and people realized, he's doing some funny stuff in the back, but
sorry, I'm just writing down our episode title. Anyways, yeah, no, it was really good, well cast. Like the casting is just perfect in that you got, Picard, Jean-Luc Picard as Professor X, Hugh Jackman, like what a home run that guy is for Wolverine. You can tell why those two played those characters for 20 years. Ian McKellen as Magneto, and
Yep.
then I forgot Thacme Jansen.
Famke.
Fa-
Famke.
Thacme Jansen. I forgot that she was.
She was a Bond girl too. I
That's
know
right.
that.
That's right.
I never saw it, but I know she was.
And
Halle Berry.
well, yeah,
Well, kind
she
of
was.
pre A star Halle Berry. She didn't really do anything in the
No,
movie.
she was big. She was big, I think already. I think she was getting there. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. It was good. I enjoyed it. And then
It's a fun movie.
watched X2 right away and enjoyed that one as well. I remember liking that one a lot more than the first, but I don't know. I will say that the ending of the first one was kind of like the build up for like the actual fight that they have on that Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of just, it was all right.
It's a little simple,
Yeah.
and the ending you could argue like there are so many other opportunities for them to escape using their powers other than just
Yeah.
hit him with a lightning bolt. Oh no, you can't because
Right.
everybody likes you. Well, she can still create winds, make it
Yeah.
cold.
It's like I was like, she's got a million other powers that she could use to get through that. So.
Maybe Jean Grey could use some of her telekinesis to bend those
Yeah,
bars.
like they could have at least put like something on her head. Like they did a really good job with Cyclops. Like they having him face Jean Grey, and if he opens his eyes, that's it. She's
Yeah,
toast,
and then
so.
same thing. Wolverine puts his claws in, so you're not in the moment. You might not be thinking about regenerative powers and all that. But
Yeah, Anyways, yeah,
A
but it
few
was
a few
fine. It was
little
fine.
foibles there, but the second
Otherwise,
one, I
yeah,
think that they hit it a little better.
yeah. Second one was really good. I and they really did a good job of making Cyclops like just a guy you want to punch in the face that does absolutely
I
nothing
don't
wrong.
I don't know why
I
the
do.
character of Cyclops gets such a bad reputation. He's the leader. He
It,
does what he's supposed to do, and everyone always looks down like, "Ah, it's Cyclops. What a stick in the mud." It's like,
because everyone wants to see Wolverine and Jean Grey get together, right? You want to see those two hit it off and go right off in the sunset,
I
and
don't
he's just
care. He could have somebody
and the
else.
haircut that they gave him too, like that is the '90s douchebag haircut that you just want to punch him in the face. Just come get some.
I feel bad for Cyclops as a character.
Mm,
He doesn't deserve all this
no,
hate.
he's terrible. I mean, the character isn't terrible. It's just like I don't know. There's just something about him that they make me want to punch him in the face. And I don't know. So then the second one, yeah, that was good too. And now I started up the third, and they've met up with Kelsey Grammer as
That was a
Beast.
big letdown. They switched directors for that one, and just
So far, it's okay. I'm only like half an hour into it, so
pretty
far it
dumb
seems okay.
decision. I don't know. I didn't like it.
At some
It
point, though, because Beast is in those prequel movies, right, with the younger crowd, and I think at some point he has to run into Wolverine. In this movie, they introduce him like it's the first time they're meeting. So I don't know if that's a major plot hole yet, but
well,
we'll
they
have to
didn't know
see.
they were going to be making all these other movies
Yeah.
later on. So.
Actually, I kind of regret not watching them in because they have them like in chronological order, the way you can watch these movies like chronologically, how they would happen.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like not by what year they came out, but by like what took place first or whatever.
Hmm.
I should have watched them like that, but I don't know. I wasn't thinking. But anyways, I'm gonna watch all these movies, going through the X-Men movies because I have the latest X-Men movie on my PVR. It's recorded on my PVR, but I want to watch all these before I get there.
At some point, I want to go into those because I still haven't seen any of those prequel movies. Or I saw 1, 2, and 3. That was it.
Yeah, I enjoy them from what I remember, so I think I'll still enjoy them.
One thing I really enjoyed from the first movie was just the characters, like Wolverine and Rogue, just on the road. Nothing big happening, but just the scene of them in the bar and getting together. It's like it was well done.
Yeah,
Very, very likable characters.
and I'm surprised that Rebecca Romaine Lettuce is pretty good in that movie as Mystique.
Surprised?
Yeah, I didn't. I like the first time I watched these movies. I didn't like. She didn't like leave an impression on me. But this time it's like, wow, she's really cool. Like she,
Yeah, she doesn't say a lot, so a lot of it is in the eyes, and
yeah,
obviously the get up they got her in, the prosthetics and
well,
paint that she's
yeah.
wearing.
It's hard. They're
Uh,
hard. There's hard leaves little to the imagination.
no, but you could tell there's one scene in particular in the first movie where they kidnap Senator Kelly and they unmask and Magneto's talking to him. Mystique is standing next to him. She turns and walks, and they cut away probably because the prosthetics didn't hide her behind all that much, and then they only cut back to her as she's turning around.
uh, yeah,
So
I'm surprised.
that might have gotten them a PG-13 or R
Yeah,
rating.
I'm surprised too by how much they set up in those movies that they actually followed through on. Like, there's tons of stuff about Wolverine and his past and all that, and they actually, they made the movies. Like, I never understood, like, why did they make X-Men Origins Wolverine? I just thought, oh, they just, Wolverine's a popular guy, so let's make a Wolverine movie. But they actually
Well,
set
that
that
was
all up.
the crux of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, I wasn't really paying attention. I'm watching all these in casual mode. I'm not like, I'm just here for, to waste 2 hours or whatever to say that I've seen these movies. But now I'm watching, I'm paying attention, and yeah, it's good times.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we have Steven Eider in the chat, or we did, anyways.
Hello, Steven.
Yeah, he always seems to be like ready for these.
Steven is on this bizarre schedule where he's awake in your time, but he's also awake in my time. I don't know when he sleeps.
And he's mystery. He's a mystery. I don't know. I could just list off some other movies here that I watched. Let me Inherit the Wind. Did you ever see that? With
Nope.
Spencer Tracy and the guy who played what's his name? Fred.
Is Vin Diesel in it? Because
No,
I ain't
it's
watching it. Then got Vin
what's his
Diesel.
name? Frederick March. He's the guy who played Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the original from the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Though this is 1960. It's about the monkey trial. You know, the monkey trial in the States in the 20s. They made a law that in Tennessee, in this movie they use a fictitious town and a fictitious state, but in reality in Tennessee they made a law that you could not teach Darwin's theory of evolution because it contradicts what's in the Bible. So they called it the monkey trial because, you know, Darwin's thing is that humans have evolved from apes. So they made a movie about it in 1960 with Spencer Tracy and Frederick March, and it's really good. It's awesome. And fun fact, Inherit the Wind is the very first movie they showed on airplanes.
Really?
Fun fact.
Oh, wow.
Watch The Great Escape. You ever see that?
I didn't like that movie.
I thought I didn't too. And then I rewatched it. It was on TV. I rewatched it, and it is freaking good.
Okay. I've never seen it.
And as I'm watching it, like, I don't know, I have a problem. I really do have a problem where I don't remember if I liked a movie or not. Like, I'll go back and I'll think, oh, I hated that movie. And then, like, since I've been logging them and actually keeping them, you know, I look back at what I wrote and I'm like, no, I actually liked this movie. Or I hated it.
Sometimes your taste changes, yeah.
Well, no, like, even, like, okay, so I was doing Letterboxd, which is like it's an app where you can put all your movies and all the movies you watched, everything that you think. Pretty much what I'm doing in the Google Sheet, you can do it into this app. The only difference is that other people can see what's in there and interact with you and that if they want. So I was bored at work all week, so that's pretty much what I did all week, was just taking everything that's in my spreadsheet and putting it into this app. And as I'm going through and I'm like looking like at what movies I watched, I'm like, there was one movie that came up, Harriet. And I'm like, Harriet, what the hell is Harriet? I watched it on January 19th. What the hell is Harriet? So I look and I'm like, oh, it's the movie about Harriet Tubman. I'm like, that stupid movie. Yeah, that movie was so dumb. And then I scroll over and I see I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm like, what the heck? And so I wrote down, not as powerful as 12 Years a Slave, and felt like a made-for-TV movie at times, but it is enjoyable overall. See, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I think, like, I thought I hated that movie for a second. And then I look back and like, no, I actually like that movie.
So that happens when you get older.
I guess. I don't know. I can't remember stuff. And I just watched it in January. I don't know. Anyways, that's why I'm doing this stuff. Like, and then there was even a Bogart movie that I thought was really good. I look back on it and it was like, no, this movie was bad for these reasons. I can't remember which one it was. There isn't too many bad Bogart movies, but there are a few clunkers. And there was one that I thought was really good. I can't remember. Anyways, point is, I have a bad memory.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember anything.
You know, you've mentioned that several times.
Yes.
On the show.
So, Great Escape. Turns out I really enjoy it. It's a really good movie. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what the heck what I was thinking. I don't know. I watched another movie called The Descendants. This movie came out in 2011. Stars George Clooney, and he's this guy who is a descendant of these basically Hawaiian royalty, and he is like the sole beneficiary of this chunk of land in Hawaii, on one of the islands in Hawaii, and it's like prime real estate, and it's coming to a point where they have to decide whether they're going to sell the land or use the land for something or whatever. And if they sell the land now, it's going to be really it's an easy transaction, and the government can't get involved. But if they wait, then it's going to be a complete mess, right? and there's him and all of his cousins are descendants too, and they get like a smaller, like he's the guy who can decide what to do with the land, but all the cousins get like a small portion of the benefits of things. Anyways, it's a really beautiful piece of land, and then he's not sure what he wants to do. He's not sure if he wants to sell it to a golf course, if he wants to sell it to someone that wants to put a hotel on it. He's not sure what he wants to do with it. Anyways, as he's going through all this, his wife has a boating accident, gets in a boating accident, and she's paralyzed. And out of it, she's in a coma and paralyzed. She could be brain dead. And as he's like, telling, like getting his, like, he's got 2 daughters and he's getting them, he's getting them to like come to the hospital to visit their mother and all that. He finds out that his wife was actually cheating on him with another man. His oldest daughter tells him this stuff. So he's dealing with all this crap basically. And I don't want to tell you what happens at the end, but it was a really, really good movie. It's made by the guy, Alexander Payne. He's a guy who did the movie Sideways. You might have seen with.
I have seen that.
Yeah, I remember it not being like an excellent movie; it being an okay movie.
It's a good enough movie.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've seen it though.
But this one was excellent. I gave it 5 stars, 5 out of 5. It was fantastic. It's one of those movies where all the characters are good. They're funny. They're interesting. The little girl in there's she steals the show in every scene that she's in. And it was good. So that's all I got to say. It was a good movie.
That Sideways movie, I remember it's not a like amazing movie, but Paul Giamatti was really good.
Yeah. And Thomas Hayden Church is in it as well.
Sandman.
Right? Lowell from Wings. Yeah. That's pretty much it. That's
But before I forget, when you were talking about Electronic Brains and the Daystrom Institute, I did watch the new Plinkett review of Star Trek Picard.
I watched that too.
It was a little hard to follow because I didn't watch the show.
Me too.
And at times it felt like it was going on way too long, which is kind of rare for a Plinkett review. But it was all worth it when you get to the end and he does the supercut of all the captains doing their
speech,
second star to the right, and they're doing all the speeches, and then just hard cut to a bunch of clips from Picard.
The thing
that summed it up right there.
The thing that kills me the most is that they had Picard play a pirate, like he wanted to be a pirate, or he had to pretend to be a pirate, or something like that.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
It's just so. I don't know. I don't get
so
that.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But hey, wait till Captain Pike show comes out, and then you're gonna fall in love with that one.
Can't wait.
Aren't they still doing a cartoon? Weren't they going to make a cartoon of Star Trek?
Apparently so. It's like, what the heck was it called? Like Under the
Lower
Deck?
Decks.
Lower Decks or something? Yeah. I don't know. It's supposed to be a comedy. I don't know. Did I mention that I watched the Underworld movies?
Yeah, you said you're kind of glad you were done with them.
Yeah.
You said you liked them before. This is part of your bad memory.
Well, I think it's partly that, and I think when they were coming out, I'm thinking this was my mindset. I was so anti CG because there was bad CG in everything. Everything had bad CG. And the Underworld series was the only one that was still doing practical effects. There was some CG in it. But
there's that scene that got everybody all up when she jumps off that tower and then just hits the landing and starts walking. That probably got a lot of people to go to the movie.
Yeah. Anyway, I enjoy. I think that's what it was. That I was championing practical effects, and I thought like, well, this is a good series because they still do practical effects. But now I'm watching it, and it's not good. And then they abandoned by the third movie. They abandoned the practical effects, and it was mostly CG. It looked.
I think that's the one I saw recently. Was maybe the third one.
Or it was the fourth one, actually.
It was like a prequel one.
That's the third one. The third one's a prequel one. And that one is so, like, they oversaturate the image Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
saturation's at 100%. So everyone's face is like red or orange or whatever. And all these movies have this blue filter on the entire movie that everything looks blue. It just, I don't know. They look like Tobias Funke and they all blew themselves. It's not good times.
It's a silly series of movies. The
Yeah.
first one I've seen a few times, and it's not. It's still, if it's on, it's
Yeah.
fine.
I haven't. I didn't. I gotta admit, I didn't rewatch the first one. I just watched the second, third, and fourth one.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's empty, and it's
I'm.
vampires in leather, and
Yeah, I'm getting rid of it.
it's very forgettable.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And there's too many plot holes in that too. Like the vampires have this ability to bite, like to suck blood, and when they suck blood, they get like images of what the other person has experienced or is feeling or whatever. And there's too many instances where like the head vampire thinks, hey, this guy is like, I don't know if he's telling me the truth or not, I can't tell. And then he goes through the whole movie like wondering, I can't tell. And then at the end of the movie he's like, you know what, I'm going to use my suck the blood power and I'm going to find out the truth. It's like, well, you could have done this, within 5 minutes of this movie and it would have been over.
Well, that's the thing. It would have been over.
Well,
Wouldn't have got to all those cool fight scenes.
and it happens in like a few movies, like a few of them. This is the occurrence. I gotta stop hitting my microphone. Yeah, that's it.
Let's talk about the Batmobile.
Oh, right, we're supposed to talk about that. Hey, wait, I got one more thing. Speaking of bad memory, have you ever seen The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh yeah, that's a good movie.
No, I didn't like it. It was no good.
Oh.
And and Sarah and I are watching it, we're like, what the heck is, like, we thought we liked this movie, and we remembered it was The Corpse Bride. That was the movie that we saw and we liked.
I haven't seen that
Nightmare
one.
Before Christmas. Anyways.
Nightmare Before Christmas is a good movie. When I first saw it, I saw it in the theater, and I wasn't too impressed. I think I was like a little old for kids movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was all right. I watch it with my kids now. They really like it. And I was like, you know what, this is a nice little movie. It's fun to see all the stop motion. I think there's some fun style in there. And it's a little, I'd say one thing that detracts from it is the musical aspect of it.
Yep,
I don't need all the singing, but there are some catchy songs, and I do find myself humming them after I hear it.
Really?
Yeah, I do like the introduction a lot, and a lot of great camera work of them going through the Halloween town and all that.
Yeah, it's well made.
I think it's fun. If you want to talk about good stop motion movies, you talked about The Great Escape. Chicken Run is like,
oh yeah, that's a fun movie.
Perfect film.
Yeah.
I have seen that so many times with my kids. That was like their number one go-to film for a long time. And that movie never gets old. Really well done.
Now, for Nightmare Before Christmas, I didn't like the music, and I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't really understand what the plot was, like what they were trying to do.
It's very operatic, too. It's not just like a standard musical. It's very slow music.
I didn't understand, like, what were they, like, the guy was bored, so he wanted to incorporate Christmas, or he wanted to take over Christmas, I guess. But I don't know why he'd want to. I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. Anyway,
he was just bored. He wanted to try something new, and then he did, but then he was tweaking it in a way that it shouldn't have been tweaked, and then he realized, I got to let it be its own thing. And then he decided, all those tweaks I was making, I could just do that for my own holiday and not mess it up for everybody else. It's a fun movie. It's fine. It's not for old men. Don't sit there. Try to get entertainment out of A Night Before Christmas.
Hey, I like The Corpse Bride as far as I can remember, anyways. So.
Well, yeah, check your notes.
Yeah,
hated this movie.
I don't have
Depp.
I don't have notes that go that far back. Do you have crows? Is there crows out? Jeez.
Sounds like they're fighting too.
Sounds like you got a murder of them out there.
We do. We have a lot of crows around here. They're quite large. For the past 5 minutes or so, they've been stomping up and down on the roof. I can hear them jumping. And they cause so much trouble around here. They're always ripping things apart, stealing things, fighting with each other, just screaming. just sitting here trying to have a nice day, and then you hear like in the back, and they're big too. Japanese crows. I was very shocked to see how much larger they are than the crows that I remember from
Really?
back home. See one sitting on a fence, and your beak is like this long,
Whoa.
staring at you.
We had crows here for like the longest time. Like they'd show up every year, and then last few years, I'll knock on wood, haven't haven't seen them. So maybe they'll grow out of your area too at some point.
I wish they would. They heard you.
But maybe they're Nightmare Before Christmas fans.
It could be. We were having a barbecue at my neighbor's house a few months back, and then a crow landed on the fence, and like a couple of us all thought the same thing. It looked like a gorilla, just like looking over the fence. It was so big.
Mm. Steven wants to know if the cicadas are out yet. Is that how you say it? Cicadas?
Yeah, I did hear them a while ago. I think they were just waking up, but they're not out now. But within the next month or so, you might hear that just because it is deafening. There's a little pack of bamboo trees over here, and there's so many of them in there. I'd walk by it in the morning, and it's like, seriously, you need earplugs.
The crows can't take care of that population for you?
I don't know. The cicadas, the mosquitoes, the crows. It's like we're coming into a very difficult season right now.
Okay, let's talk about the Batmobile because I took a bunch of notes. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so I saw a notice on some site saying, "Oh, YouTube streamed Batmobile documentary like 2 weeks ago," and I passed it. Like I went back to it, like, what do you mean there was a Batmobile documentary? So I was all excited, and I thought, oh wow, they're doing something great for this Corona time. They're putting some of their IP out on YouTube. That's great. And then I told you about it, and then I went and started watching it, and I realized, oh, okay, this is like an older documentary, probably packaged on one of their DVD releases, because it's a documentary about Batmobiles in general, from their initial concept in the comics, and mostly how they appeared in the live action stuff, the TV show, and then into the movies. And it ends with the Tumbler, so it was made around that Nolan time, and I think the second half of the documentary is large. They spend a little more time with the Tumbler than they do the other cars, so it was definitely hey, look at us. Mm-hmm. Here's the legacy, but here's what we're doing. So I was a little disappointed in that it wasn't something newer. I assumed it was something new, but it makes sense, put an old documentary up there for people.
Well, wouldn't that have been a great idea if right now they just decided, because they're doing this new Batman movie, they got a new Batmobile. Like, why not do a series like that showing like, hey, check out the new Batmobile? Are you
That's kind of what I thought. And I imagined it would be show everything up until this point and just now mention like, hey, new Batman movie's coming.
Yeah.
Here's a couple of early pics of the car. And it would be a lot of great promotion.
Show the stunt guys like doing something with the car,
Yeah. Well, that whole thing is they're on hold, right? That movie, they can't shoot anything.
Yeah, that's right. No,
I don't know, but still, it was fun to watch a documentary about the Batmobile. And as soon as I saw Adam West, I'm like, oh, this is an old documentary.
Yeah.
But they go into initial concepts of just Batman had a car. And
it was, you just drove around in Bruce Wayne's car at first. This is in the comic books. It was like a red sedan, right?
He just had like a boring old car. And then you get to those early serials, which I've never seen. I'm curious about them. But apparently they had one car that was a convertible. And when the top was down, it was Bruce Wayne's car. And when the top went up, it was Superman logic, glasses on. Now it's the Batmobile.
Yeah.
And then
that was it for live action until 1966, right?
Yep. And you get the classic
Adam West car,
which was a concept car that was kind of deconstructed and rebuilt as the Batmobile. It had those the twin canopies and the long wings in the back. That was
Hmm.
all part of the original design. So it's just shocking to see just like a white Batmobile without all the frills, without all the bells and whistles.
Uh,
That was
well,
neat.
well, what impressed me the most was when they were showing it with its very first paint job, and the guy who built it, I can't remember his name, but he was describing how his original concept was to use like a flat
Like a
black.
gray,
Yeah,
almost.
and the entire car was just like a flat gray or flat black, like there was no gloss on it or whatever.
Hmm.
He wheeled it out and he looked at it and he's like, "No, that's no good." So he went back, like he had zero time to do anything in that, but he put uh like a glossy black paint on it,
Hmm.
and then just any detail on the car, he would just put like he would paint it in a gloss red,
Yeah.
and it just completely changed the car. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
amazing how that paint job just completely like your eyes popped as soon as they switched over to that new style, like that new just a new paint job, and it's like wow, that's a Batmobile right
That's a
there.
car that wants to be looked at. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it just needed that little highlight to draw attention to it. I actually got to see that car many years ago at a convention. They had one parked out front, and for whatever reason, I never took a picture. So
Mm.
it wasn't like you could go right up to it. They had the barricade around it, but it was really neat to see.
Yeah, it was impressive. And what do you say the jet at the back is an old paint can?
It's a paint can, yeah,
He only had 15 days to make this
Yeah,
car.
$15,000 in
In
15
15
days.
days, yeah.
Yeah, like sure,
Wow.
let's go for it.
Mm.
But yeah, that, and I think later on in the documentary, you see somebody pick up the bat phone, and it looked like it had Velcro, just to hold it in
Hold
place.
it there.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense. So that was it for that. They said like in a few animated series and that in the 70s, that's like kind of used that concept of the car.
yeah. What was nice in the documentary is they do touch base with the comic once in a while.
Yeah.
Apparently, there were a couple of iconic cars. There was the one that kind of had like a bat face on the
Hmm.
car.
Yeah.
Um, but there had just been little transitions. They talked about how the comic book writers and artists, as soon as they like a new artist would take over, they kind of want to make
Make the
the
Batmobile. Yeah.
Batmobile their own, redesign it a little bit,
Yeah.
which is an attractive project. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then
Um, okay. Yeah, go for it.
into the movies, '89 Burton movie, and I think this one is another one of those examples where they were taking model kits and just kit bashing them, just putting them together. Like they use like an like a jet engine cockpit and like made that the center and just kind of built the car around it to see what it would look like.
Yeah. They said they didn't want that one tied to any period of time. Like they didn't want
Mhm.
the car to look like something from the 70s or the 80s, or they just wanted it to look timeless. So they kind of just went nuts with the look of the car.
Mhm.
And yeah, there was like that's my favorite Batmobile. That's like to me that's
That
still the
it
one.
for me it's a draw. Like if you want campy Batman, I love that '60s
Yeah,
Batmobile.
yeah, yeah,
But as far as the tougher, grittier Batman,
yeah,
yeah, that Burton Batmobile is amazing. And when they designed it, like he was having so much fun, making the look of the thing. He didn't think about doors. He's
right,
like,
right,
Tim Burton shows up, like, how does he get in?
yeah,
Like, oh, uh, maybe the canopy can slide forward.
right. And then when Michael Keaton got into the car for the first time, his ears got caught
Yep.
in the canopy. So he actually had a different cowl just for wearing inside the Batmobile. It was something like a quarter inch.
The ears were just slightly
Yeah,
smaller.
shorter, so the door would go over onto his
Hmm.
head. But was this the one too where they said the no, that was the other one. I think that was the other one, the Tumblr one.
The one thing I remember about this is the paint was very easy to scratch. So
Yeah,
there's a scene where Kim Basinger,
Kimmy
Kim,
baby.
Kim, she has to take off her shoes when she gets out and there's no logical reason for it other than that she would scratch the paint on the car,
Yeah.
and they
They
hey,
didn't want to scratch the
don't
paint.
scratch the car, huh?
Well, because every time she did, they would have to repaint it for
Right.
the next shot or whatever. So
I love that Batmobile so much. It's so
yeah,
cool.
it's good times. Um,
Which was the same design they used in the follow-up movie. Other than that, it had that part where it blows apart and becomes like a missile to go through the door.
right. Yeah. Pretty much. So then we get into the Kilmer one, the Val Kilmer one, which
Yeah.
apparently was or they wanted Geiger, the aliens guy, the guy who came up with all the aliens thing. They
Mm.
wanted him to come up with the Batman car, but his concept was a little too crazy. They would have had to do it all
Yeah, and it just
CG.
didn't look good either. It looked like a
No,
weird X with a circle in the center.
yeah,
I don't know.
but they still took some of his idea, some of his concept, and put it into that car, which is a pretty. I mean, it's an okay looking Batmobile. It's not my
I
favorite, but
Well, I'll
yeah,
say this for the Schumacher Batmobiles. I was never a fan of them, but in this documentary, because you're think of it in the context of the film, like why are there all these holes in the Batmobile? Why would you want to see the engine? Doesn't that sound like a bad idea that you would have your engine exposed? But when you stop and look at it just as a car, and you hear the people discuss their thought process of how to design it,
yeah,
it's a decent car.
yeah.
It just happens to be in a not so good movie, especially
Well,
the fourth
it
one.
it's also supposed to be a little stealth too, and it's got all these lights
Yes.
and everything, and
Well, that was them bringing it back a little bit campier. It was like
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't make sense why the Batmobile would be like this open top convertible where you could just jump inside, but that was the campy '60s style, so that's what worked.
Um, they used little gears inside of the wheels to keep the Batmobile or the Bat logo vertical. They said they had a gear that spun 60,000 RPM
Hmm.
as the wheel would turn, just so the logo would stay vertical and not.
That's impressive because I assume they just had it like
Yeah,
a
like
stock
static.
still thing in front of there, but nope, high
Apparently,
tech.
you can't do that or something. I don't know. So yeah, they used the little gear in there. And this one, they actually had a balloon motor for the flame at the back.
Yeah, and it shot out really far too.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. That's
Then
cool.
we get to the Clooney one, and this one I don't know. What did they say? Oh yeah, this one they only built. So for most Batmobiles, all the
Hmm.
Batmobiles actually, except for this one, they have like a stunt car where it does all the driving and all that, and then they have another one for shots or whatever. It might not run, might not move, but it has like
But it's
the inner
the for the glamour
workings.
shots. Yeah.
Yeah, the pretty shots and all that. And in this one, the car costs so much to make that they only built the one car. And
Hmm.
anytime you see the car doing any sort of stunts, and it's probably part of the reason why this movie stunk so bad, it was either miniature or CG
Yeah.
that they used.
Well, that and it did stupid things. You know, in
Yeah,
the first film, it was a car and it drove around and it was a cool car. And, the missile thing was, it's so so. But by the third one, it's driving up walls and
yeah,
then it's making all these jumps off of statues and things. And it
yeah,
just went nuts. So I really have no memory of the car. I think I
yeah,
only saw that Batman and Robin once, and it was instantly forgettable. But I had no memory of it. So looking at it this is kind of like the first time I'm ever seeing the car, and it had an open top, just a one seater, just Batman sitting in there,
yeah,
and it kind of became more of the old sedan style. Like it seemed really large in the
yeah.
front, like
Long.
it had a giant nose, and then it just like these little bat wings in the back.
Was
But
that the one too, or that might have been the Val Kilmer one where the guy accidentally ripped off? They
I
couldn't
think that was the
they
Val
couldn't
Kilmer one because that
yeah
had
they
the
could
really big
yeah.
split wing.
Well, and there was like so much like had to go into thinking of turning because the front of the car like there was such a big back swing when the car would turn, and he accidentally cut off one of the bat wings, and they had to scramble to get it fixed or something like that. But yeah, anyways, then the Nolan Tumbler one. Watching all the work and everything that they did to make to build the car for the concept.
Mhm.
This one, yeah, they took like all the model kits and everything, and they were just gluing pieces together, and then went to the team with this glue, like just pieces of model kit glued together, and said, "Make
Yeah,
this."
that and a big clump of clay that he was like,
Yeah,
This,
yeah,
make it like this."
like at this, no drawings or anything like that, and so
Yeah,
they
no
built a tumbler
sketches.
from that. And everything's practical in the Nolan movies. Not much is CG. Like anytime the car jumps or anything like that, they're actually jumping this crazy tumbler thing. They put hydraulics on the bottom, so when the thing would land, it wouldn't be
It
as
wouldn't
jarring.
scratch its belly,
Yeah,
hitting down.
yeah, and watching all that made me wish I enjoyed the Nolan movies more. Like just watching
Yeah,
like them put all this work and effort into it. It's like, man, I wish I could enjoy these. Like, if the people who wrote these stories and thought about these stories put as much effort as the people who build these cars did, like we would have some awesome movies.
no.
But
One of these days, I'm going to try to rewatch The Dark Knight.
that's the one
Like
I
that.
enjoy. I do like The Dark Knight. That to me is like but it's all about Heath Ledger. Anytime Christian
Yeah.
Bale comes on as Batman, he's just, I don't know.
Well, I watched them all once. I tried watching Begins again, and I couldn't make it. And I tried watching The Dark Knight again, and like after 15 minutes or so, I couldn't take it. But I might want to power through that one eventually. But that Tumblr, I've never liked the Tumblr
Me
just
neither.
because it's like a tank.
Yeah.
I don't care how practical the movie is supposed to be, and this Batman, it just didn't look good. But by the end of the documentary, they get to one of the designers of the Tumblr, and he talks about this personal story of how he was battling cancer, and how one of his dreams became to get a Batmobile to a children's hospital, just to give the kids something to look. There's the Batmobile. You can go see it. You can go sit in the Batmobile, and he gets it done. And you see the kids going in, and they're having fun and everything. And at that point, like, it really got to me. I was like, that's not my favorite car. It's never going to be my favorite car. But for a lot of kids, that generation, that's their Batmobile.
Yeah.
I'm never going to badmouth that car again.
Oh, I'll badmouth it.
If it means that much. Look, for the kids, I'm not going to badmouth. Any 20 or 30-year-old who's like, "Oh, that's the bestest one because it's so serious," and like, shut up. Piece of garbage. But for those kids, you be proud of your Batmobile.
Oh, sure. The other thing I found funny too is that they wanted as much real science built into this car as well. Like they wanted the car to be like what a real concept car would be today, and how like a scientist would come up with like something that needed to do all these tricks and needed to go all terrain and needed to do all this all this stuff. Like it's like based on sort of like Star Trek, like none of it is real, but it's kind of based on some real science. And I just found it funny, like just the look of the car and how it moves and all that was all well thought out in that. And then when you get to like the guys who actually have to drive it and they can't really drive it because the car is so impractical, you need to, like the window is so small that the guy needed 2 cameras mounted on it so he could actually see where he's going. I just thought that was so funny. It's like, yeah, this is all based on real science. You can't drive it, but it's based on real science. And the Tumbler too, that was the door didn't open on it, right? I think this was the one that the door would not open.
Yeah,
Anytime
they said there was one where, like, when you see it open in the movie, the top lifts up, the seat comes up, and it's this whole complicated thing.
Right.
But the one that actually drove, there was like nothing inside. It was just bare bones, empty.
Yeah.
And the guy like desperately trying to see out the window.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting though. You can't even get in or out of it.
Well, to its credit, the Burton one you could drive because they showed this comedian who bought one
Yeah, Jeff
the
Dunham.
ventriloquist guy.
Unfortunately, it was Jeff Dunham, but yeah.
Yeah, and he just drives around the street
Yeah.
like, hey, I got a Batmobile.
Yeah. Well, even the original. Well, the original. It's not the original, but the '66 one.
Yeah,
That's basically a real car. And
Mhm.
so the coolest part of the documentary is when at the end when they got all the cars together and they're all driving along in a line, and the guy who built the '66 one is like, hey, yeah, like people ask him like, can I get in the car? Can I rev it up? They're like, he's like, yeah, get in there. And they'll get in and they'll press the gas a little and it does this little vroom. And they're like, oh, that sounds nice. He's like, no, give it like right that. And when that thing revved up and opened up, oh my god, yes. That is a beast of a machine right there. That's an old V8 4-barrel motor revving right there. It's good times.
Yeah, and then they had them all together in the garage, and all the people who worked on them came and looked at them, and then they paraded them somewhere. They brought them to like a hamburger stand or something.
Something, yeah.
And just a bunch of people, and that would be awesome just to see all those Batmobiles lined up.
It was a good watch.
Big fan of the Batmobile. I love that car, like in many different iterations of the way it goes.
The other highlight too is watching Adam West talk about how he drove that '66 Batmobile
to go trick or treating.
That was good. He only got to go to 2 or 3 homes before he was sworn.
If he actually did that, that would be pretty fun.
Yeah. And then like he said, like he would actually like on set and that like the script would like he did all the driving of the Batmobile. I didn't know he actually did like all the like I know like when you saw the car come in, right,
like, just comes into camera.
Right, like when he's coming into Commissioner Gordon's place and they jump out and run up. Like that's Adam West. But he said like he did all those stunts like where like the car is like kicking up dirt and everything, and he would intentionally like make the car. He would push the car because he knew like that's what the kids wanted to see at home, right? So he would he'd put the hammer down, and apparently Burt Ward wasn't too much of a fan of Adam West's driving, but yeah. That was good. It's a good documentary.
It's how Batman's supposed to drive.
So maybe we'll put a link in the description for people.
It's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
And apparently Warner Brothers, I don't know if they have put other things up there. I very briefly saw some other things. I don't know if they're as lengthy as this one, but some other stuff on their IP.
Okay. I think we've talked enough. We're at the 90-ish minute mark. So what do you say we wrap this up? Yeah, Fox has fallen asleep, so we better wrap this up before
I might go back to bed.
Let me find our outline. I don't remember what we say. Oh yeah, follow us on Twitter, @retro_Fandango. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Get a boner with Fandango. Don't forget to Discord these nuts. No, don't forget to go on Discord and tell us which movie. What you
got to do is you got to go on Twitter on one platform, and then you say, "Hey, I have something I want to say," and then immediately go over to Discord and say it over there.
No, we'll ignore your Twitters. So you just want to go to Discord. It
makes no sense. It's like me calling you on Skype and saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you." Go over to this other platform and I will talk to you there.
Because so I can't. There's nuance. Okay, there's nuance between Twitter and between Discord. And in Discord, you can have a conversation better than you can on Twitter, and have a conversation that other people can join in on better than you can on Twitter. Twitter's good for short little, hey, check out this Seinfeld gif. Hey, check out this video. Hey,
that's
check
all I got
that
time
out.
For.
Discord is good for discussion. You can actually discuss things. Duke can tell us everything that he's experienced when he was a kid and watching the Conan movies. You can't do that on Twitter. It gets lost. It's gone. On Discord, it's there. All right.
Sure. All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for or listening. If you're listening.
No,
if you're
thanks
still
for watching,
listening.
Steven.
Well, I mean, yeah, live, but people can watch this later. Sarah watches this on the treadmill. She watches us. Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay. Richard says hi.
Hi, Richard.
She says,
No,
"Hi,
she's
Bert."
not on the treadmill now.
Now she's going to hear it on the treadmill. It's going to mess her right up.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.